Hello. So this one's hopefully going to be kind of fun. The idea of this is, I don't know why, it's just something I've always wanted to do. It's basically getting stuff from the web, so web scraping, but directly into SQL Server. So you scrape a web page, put the data straight into SQL Server using Management Studio. Sounds madness. Don't know why I've always wanted to do it. There's always been a use case that I've always managed to work around because it's a weird thing to do, but it is actually possible. Using the whole kind of machine learning thing with Python and R within SQL Server, you can actually use things like Python to go do the web scraping. And Python now, because it runs inside SQL Server, will actually put the data straight into SQL Server. So it's actually quite funky. So I kind of thought I'd do a video about it. Now, I'm not going to cover the installation of machine learning in SQL Server. I'm going to figure that you've already done that. So I'm going to presume that you already have a SQL Server that has machine learning in place. So if I, for example, go to my SQL Server, I can do execute it's not remote, it's external script, language equals and Python, and just for the sake of the script, equals, let's do something simple, 1 plus 2. Okay, now if we run that, we should be able to get, there you go, 3. So I've got Python installed on my SQL Server, so I've got the machine learning functionality already installed, and therefore, like I said, I'm going to presume that you already do. If you do, make sure that in SP configure that you do have the setting external scripts enabled set to 1, otherwise it doesn't work. Even if you install the machine learning, it'll still throw you errors. So if this works as I just ran it and you get an output that looks sensible, and you're all good to go. So what I'm going to do is basically start just with Python itself. So what I've got here is I've already kind of built the starting point of my script. I didn't want to go right to the very beginning. You can copy this off screen. I'll make it a bit bigger. There we go. So what you can see is I'm going to go to just Sky Sports, to their F1 page. So if I boot up an Internet Explorer window and go here, so you can basically see here's a table. Now all I'm going to do is just get the driver name in order from this table. I'm not fussed about the nationality, team, points, etc. I mean, it's a much bigger task. This is literally the premise of how you go about it. If you want to expand on it, knock yourselves out. I mean, you can do some really funky things, screen scraping. So I've got this open, and as you can see, my Python script is basically just going to go to that URL and download it. And then it's just going to use an HTML parser just to turn it into text. Now, the only thing you will need is you will need 2 pip installs, so basically 2 modules. You need the beautiful soup module, which is the one that actually does the kind of URL funky stuff, which we'll do in a minute, and requests, which is the one that actually goes and gets the URL. So if you have to do the pip install for those, you can see I've got them here in green. Beautiful soup is actually Beautiful Soup 4, hence from BS4. But once you've got those 2, you're all good to go. Now what this will actually do is this, as it says here, it downloads the entire URL text. I'm pretty sure I can just do a print, so if I kind of run my script, there you go, you can see we've just got a whole ream of HTML. Now we obviously don't know exactly what to get. This is actually the fun of developer tools. So if we hit F12 in here, you actually get the developer tools open, which actually shows you all the elements within the web page. Now if you'll notice, as I kind of scroll up and down here, you'll suddenly see it starts to highlight the elements that I'm hovering over. Now as you can see, we want this one because this one includes our table. So what I'm going to do is, you see I hover over it, so I can open that, hover over the next one, open that. Yeah, I want the top one, open that. Don't want that, don't want that, don't want that. This is the one I want. This has got my data in it. So you just kind of keep opening these. The one with your data in. So there we go, I want this one. And I want that one. So you kind of see I can keep opening them till I get to table. And you can see table is just my table. So if I now open that, I've got the table body. So table body is the bit I want. You can see it no longer has the heading. We've got just the table body. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my Python, and I'm basically just going to say, okay, I want the full table, and I'm just going to do select, and I want the table body, and I just want the main element. So if I run that now, if I just print full table, I should just get, it's not as clear, but you can see there's a lot less HTML. You can actually see now what we've got is we've got driver, country, and the stuff we're not collecting. But the main bit is you can see we've actually got the driver inside an A tag, inside a span within the A tag is our driver name. So all I'm going to do now is just to get my driver, that's not how you spell driver. I'm just getting my driver equals full table dot select, and out of that what I'm going to look for is I'm going to look for the A tag, and then I'm going to look for the span inside the A tag. And then if I look at this, you'll see that now, let's go down. There you go. Now you can see we've actually just got the spans. That's all it's now returning us, is just the spans, which is great. It's kind of what we want. Not in the ideal format. I'm just going to do a little bit of cleaning. This is a little bit irritating, so I'm going to create myself a list, and then I'm just going to say for driver in driver. If I could type, it would help. And then what I'm going to do is I'm basically, if I scrap this for the moment, I'm basically just going to say, okay, I want string of D. And now I'm just going to do a load of replaces. Basically, I'm just going to say, okay, in that string, I want to replace, and I'm going to replace something with something, and I'm basically just going to replace this. Okay, because I don't want that. So I'm going to replace that, and then this should clean things up a little bit more. So you'll see as we run through. There we go. We've now got a little bit cleaner. I also want to get rid of this, so I'm just going to do another dot replace, and I'm just going to do the span, and I'm going to replace that with an empty string, and that is going to be almost there. So if I run this, there you go, almost there, but you can see there's a lot of white space. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim it. Now hopefully, if all is well and good, oh, we have now attribute trim. I didn't mean trim. Trim is SQL. Strip is what we need in Python. That's my bad. Multiple languages, it gets confusing. So now you can see, once we've stripped all the white space off, we've now just got a nice happy list of names. Okay, all is well. So what we're going to do is we are going to, for each one of these, table rows dot append, and that will then add all of our data into our list, and then our list we can actually just put straight into a data frame. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do a data frame, and we're just going to put our table rows in. We're also going to name our columns. I am going to call it driver name, and then if we print our data frame, okay, we now have a data frame that you can see with driver name and a whole list of driver names scraped from our website. All well and good, but this is just Python. So what we kind of need to do now is get this into SQL Server. Now obviously we could do the kind of Python script where we do the connect to SQL Server, send the data back and forth, etc. But I wanted to do this from Management Studio, more just for the comedy value. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm actually going to take this script as is. I'm going to go back to my Management Studio, and in my script I'm literally just going to paste it. Now obviously there's a couple of issues here. Firstly, we've got all the quotes, so we need to fix these just by escaping them. So let's fix all of these by just doing a quick escape across, and that I think should be it. Yep, cool, that looks all good. Okay, now one caveat, when you're using Python within Visual Studio Code, I'm using the kind of, I suppose, actual Python. I mean, it's a odd thing to say, but you can see I'm running it from my app data programs Python. So this is kind of like my actual machine install of Python. Now, SQL Server has a different install of Python. So it needs these libraries and these modules. It needs them installing for it, not for the generic Python on your machine, for the SQL Server Python. So to do that, what you need to do is go to your command prompt, probably open it up with restricted access, which is why my screen just flipped. Now, what we should be able to do is find the SQL install of Python. So you should be able to go to C program files, SQL Server, depending on where you've installed it, but you want the kind of MS SQL number dot, and then you can see Python services. So I now want to be in here, so I'm just going to go for a change directory. Done. So now I'm in here. What I can do is I can type scripts slash, and then I can do my pip install from here. So I can do my beautiful soup 4. I've already got it installed, but you'll see that I'll now get the kind of requirement already satisfied, blah blah blah. But you can see it's actually listed as in C program files. It's given the actual location of that Python install, so it's added the module to that. In your case, if you don't have it, it will obviously just install it, same as it does in any other Python, just the pip install works fine. You might have to do it for requests as well, but I actually haven't had to do that for my SQL install. So requests and pandas, just exit this. Requests and pandas just seems to be there kind of out the box. May not be the case in all, so you might have to do the pip install, but you've just seen how to do that. It's nice and easy, so that's all good, but you will definitely have to do the beautiful soup one. Now, my SQL Server now has the modules available, which is ace. So we should be able to run this. So let's execute this and see what happens. And there we go. We've now actually got data coming out as we expect. Now, obviously, this is just printing it on screen because we've done a print. So we want the data to actually come out into SQL Server so that we can now actually use it. So I'm just going to change this output to output data set df. So I'm now going to tell it to output the data set. So if I now run this again, oh, it did not like that. I've probably done something. Oh yeah, that's my bad. The output data set is the data frame, so I didn't. There we go. So if you now run this, you can actually see that we now actually have output. We have our data now in SQL Server. Now it's still not in a table, but because this is just running a proc, we can do the usual, get it into a proc. So drop table if exists temp, create table temp, and I'm just going to have driver name varchar 100, and then all we have to do is insert into temp exec our proc, same as we would anywhere else. Now at the bottom we can just do select star from temp, run this, and we now have a temporary table with our web scraped data. So there you go. You can mess around with that, do what you like, but basically this is the kind of crux of it. Easier to see in the Python script. So basically you just need the import modules, the URL. This is then just kind of standard, it's a copy and paste job. And then all you've got to do is use the developer tools to just locate the tags that you're looking for. Little bit of manipulation, put them in a data frame, and you're good to go. And that is getting a web scraped data directly into SQL Server from SSMS, just utilizing Python. Hours of fun. And that's it for the video. So if you want anything else about SQL Server, as always, go to the website, qtech.co.uk. Link should be in the description. Hundreds of SQL Server blogs. We're starting to add more about things like Python, R, stuff that we can interact with SQL Server. We're not moving away from SQL Server. We're just adding stuff we interact with and that we can use with it. Kind of like this, fun stuff. So yeah, go there. If you like the video, like it, subscribe, all that malarkey that we kind of have to say. But yeah, so enjoy.